Good morning, it's Lynn Moffat here from the bookkeeping department, and I'm here today to give you a look around Xero to see what it can do and how it works, and really for you to get a good feel for it and see whether it's really right for you and your business. Before I go any further, I wonder if somebody who's online with us would be kind enough just to pop into the chat box for me and just confirm that you can hear me okay, and that you can also see a screen up which has a front screen slide saying is Xero the software for your business. If you could just let me know before we make a start, that would be fantastic. Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you very much, Claire, for confirming. Really much appreciated. So, just to introduce myself, I'm Lynn Moffat. I run a bookkeeping practice, and we have been specialising in Xero for some time now. We're a Xero Silver partner and certified advisor, which means we've been thoroughly trained in how to use it. We don't work for Xero, and we're not, software sellers, but we do think it's a really good tool for your business, which is why we are providing these free webinars to introduce people to it, and then they can see whether they think it's right for them. We work with lots of businesses, some of which will do their own bookkeeping using Xero, and some of which who don't want to do the bookkeeping in their business, and they outsource it for us to do. So that's really just setting the context for you. What I will say as well as we work through the webinar is if you have any questions, please do put them on the chat box, and I will pick all of those questions up at the end and do anything I can to answer those for you. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is this morning is we're going to be moving through these screens. It's always the way, isn't it, when I go to press the button and the screen doesn't move. Here we go. So we're going to be looking at some of the key features and benefits of Xero software. I'm going to show you around it. I'm going to tell you what it can do and what it can't do, and I'm going to answer all your questions. That's my plan. Okay, so one of the first things I just wanted to talk about is mobility. Now, one of the really good things about cloud-based softwares like this is that you can log in and work from anywhere. So you can use your phone, you can use a tablet, you can use a laptop, you can be in America, you can be in the UK, wherever, because it's internet based. So you purely log in through their secure login and you can work from anywhere, which is great. So it makes it really convenient. So if you're out and about in between meetings or classes, then you can easily be doing things while you've got those little spare moments of time, whether it be sending out quotes, invoices, you can be chasing payments, you can be reconciling all sorts of things within your software. One of the other nice things about it as well is that you can scan information using the mobile app. So if you're one of those people who's perhaps out and about and you're buying things for your business, perhaps you're buying some materials, some equipment, you've got that receipt in front of you, you've just turned away from the till. If you then scan that on your phone and that job is done, then you haven't then got to worry about where it is. So if you scan it into your phone through the app, that will then go straight into Xero for you. So that's going to save you time later on when you're doing your bookkeeping. The other thing you can do as well while you're mobile is access customer and supplier information. So if you hold that in your Xero and you need a customer phone number, whatever, again, it's like a little mini database, and you can just get that information as you need it. So we find that business owners tell us that it saves them a lot of time because they've got that accessibility. They haven't got to wait until they get home or get to the office to log into a PC. They can be doing things as they go along, which is quite an advantage. Okay, just going to talk about navigation very briefly, and then I'm going to show you Xero. It's very easy to find your way around. So like anything, when it's a new system, it just looks a bit blur, really, because you don't know where to look for things. But things are in very logical places. Everything you can find from the top menu. So it is user friendly. There's logical places to find things. So things are labelled by very logical names, which is great. You've got customization of the dashboard, so you can see just the bits of information you want to see and not the stuff you don't want to see. And there's some good shortcut keys in there that you can see and use, which mean less clicks, which is more time efficient for you. And you're easily able to drill down in the information as well. So it is a popular software, and I think one of the reasons for that is because it is so easy to navigate your way around. So I'm just going to show you into Xero now. So here we are. We are in the demonstration version of Xero. So obviously nothing you're seeing here is confidential information. Now there are different versions of Xero. The version I'm going to show you initially is the basic cashbook version of Xero, and it's the simplest to use. So if you have a quite straightforward business and you want a good software, which is a much better process and experience than using spreadsheets and more robust, then this cashbook version is the version that will be perfect for you. And usually this version is something that you can subscribe to via a Xero partner like ourselves, and it's a £5 a month type subscription. High level subscriptions, there's a high level subscription which is a fuller version of Xero, which is for more complex businesses, or if you want to use your system for invoicing, and that the subscription with Xero is at the moment is £22 a month. So one of the things to factor in if you're thinking about cost, obviously, is what time is it going to save you. And I know that when we originally started out with Xero, we were only using it for our invoicing, and I can't tell you how much time it saved me doing invoices every month to customers rather than doing it how we had been doing it before. So just the time saving there and putting the bookkeeping aside made a massive difference for us. So just to give you a little look around then, and we're talking about the navigation. Everything that you can see here comes off the top menu. You've got help functions, so you can go, there's a lot of online support. You can also contact Xero for email support as well, and they are very responsive. There's lots of online videos as well, which show you how to do various elements of the bookkeeping process. So there's quite a lot of support there from Xero to help you when you get stuck or if you have questions as well. In here, I'm just going to click, if you look here at the top, there's a little, what looks like a filing cabinet. One of the things that Xero is very good for is that you can store all your information in the software, so you don't have to have files and bits of paper around your office or stuff that hasn't been filed. You can file everything in the system if you would like to. Now, if you've got invoices and receipts, you can attach them into various transactions in the software. But this kind of front filing system, if you've got other bits of paper to do with your finances that you want to keep in one place, you can just set up a filing system here. You can set up all sorts of folders down the left-hand side. So you might have payroll reports, you might have notifications from the HMRC, you might have original copies of bank statements, you might have lease agreements, other paperwork that you want to keep in one central location. So all you actually need to do is to set these files up here, and you can add in anything that you would like. So it's just a nice feature there. If you want to be paperless, then you certainly can be. So moving across the top menu here, you can see we have a settings function in here. So in the general settings, I'm not going to bore you with all the detail here, but in here you've got your financial settings that you obviously need to set up for your year end, etc. With your VAT registered, those sorts of things. You can set up invoice templates if you're using the invoice functions. Most importantly, you have a chart of accounts. So this is where we have set up all your different nominal codes that you would have. And if you have a Xero account, it comes with one of these as standard, which will meet the requirements of your accountant and HMRC as well. But obviously this can be tailored to your business as well. So if there are particular types of income that you have and particular types of expenditure, you can make and tailor this so that it looks exactly how it should. Well, apologies for that. We seem to be good now. So just want to quickly recap on that. So we were just talking about the layout of Xero and where to find things. We were looking in this filing system here, where I was explaining that you can keep lots of other paperwork should you wish to, like lease agreements, equipment, HMRC notifications, original copies of bank statements, etc., etc. So if you would like to store all of your information electronically, then you've got the option to do that, which is really helpful. So in the settings, which is where we were, in the general settings, you have your chart of accounts. And this again is where I was just explaining that in here, this comes with a standard chart of accounts, and that you can tailor this very much to your business. So if there are particular types of income or expenditure that you always have in your business, then these can be tailored, and that's not a problem at all to do that, as long as you make sure that you categorize them correctly to make sure they come out in the right area in your accounts. So this is the settings function. In your contacts, this is where you have any customer and supplier information. So with Xero, you can keep as much information here or as little as possible. So if purely for bookkeeping purposes, you just want to have the name of a supplier or a customer, that's absolutely fine. But if you want to use it as a bit of a database as well and keep addresses and telephone numbers of people you may need to speak to, again, you can put that information in as well. So it's got a very intuitive search function. So you can see here, if I just go into the search function and type in Belvedere, because I can see there's one there, it just brings it up straight away. So you don't need to worry about going into, is it a customer, is it a supplier? You can very simply just go in and search for the ones that you need. So very easy to use.
Lynn, just a question. If this is integrated with ClassBiz,
yes.
And that data is already on ClassBiz,
yes.
Do you have to duplicate the data, or is that part of the integration that it pulls that data across?
To my knowledge, it's part of the integration. I've not yet seen how that works yet, but I wouldn't expect there to be any duplication if it's coming in from ClassBiz.
Okay.
That's exactly the thing you want to avoid, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. We have the reports menu here, and we'll come back to those later on how easy they are to run. And then here you've got in this version, so this is the cash books version that I'm showing you, you have your bank accounts. I'll just show you. So here you would have your different accounts that you may have. So you may just have one business account, which would look like this, obviously set up with your account details. If you've got like a business savings account, perhaps you've got one of those. Underneath you might have a business credit card, you may have a cash register, you may have a petty cash. So they can all be set up in here, and you can use all of those. We'll be coming back to the banking side of things shortly, so I'm not going to dwell on that for now, but that's really where to find it. Also from this menu, you have an expense claim function. So if you want to put your personal expenses, so this is things that you've paid for out of your own personal money that you want to claim back for the business. So you can use the mobile app that I was talking about at the beginning, just literally if you've just paid for something at till, just to scan it in as an expense claim, and this will end up in Xero as this example shows, or you could actually do it from the screen where you can see it says add receipt. So they are very simple menus to use. The dashboard is where you go when you log in. That's your first screen, and this can have as much on it or as little as you wish. The idea of it really is for it to show particular things that are going to flag up to you that you want to know about. So for example, on the right hand side there you can see that it's got an account watch list. So if there are things that you want to keep an eye on, your expenditure perhaps on room hire, for example, that might be something that you would have set up in your account watch list, so that every time you log on you can see how much you've spent so far. So that's just an example of how you can use the dashboard if that's of use to you at all. So that's a quick guided tour just to show you the functionality. On each of these screens, you will find a search button. And really, you can look for things and search. So if I just go in here, for example, if I went into the bank statements, you'll see there's a search button there. So you can search for a customer or supplier, an amount, between dates. So all of the screens have got very useful search functions on, so it's very easy to find things around in your system as well. So that's a little bit of an introduction to it. So some of the features that are quite useful to be aware of. One in particular, particularly for the cash books version, the way it works is that when you're doing your bookkeeping, you're basically being very much led by what's on your bank statements. So it may be, if you're doing your bookkeeping at the moment, that you would print out your bank statement, have it on the desk beside you, and then you're kind of ticking or highlighting as you go, as you enter that information into a system or a spreadsheet to make sure that you've covered everything. So this is really adopting that way of working, but doing it in an online way and in a way which is much quicker and much more effective as well. So at the moment, just to give you an example of that, let's take this example that we are in the main business bank account. So if you click here on manage account, you'll see you've got various options, but the main two things to consider are these. So on this side of things, you have your bank statement. So the bank statement, this is all the lines that are coming through into your Xero based on what is on your actual bank statement. Now, the ideal way to have this set up is that you'll have a bank feed which feeds directly from your bank into Xero. So every day, your bank feed in Xero will update with the latest lines on your bank statements. Okay. Now, the bank feeds with each bank are different. So there are some that work via what they call a Yodlee feed, which is a third-party feed, and usually that's sufficient. There are other feeds which, so with Barclays, for example, if you have a Barclays account, the Yodlee feed is less reliable and doesn't always work as effectively, but there is a direct bank feed with Barclays, which is a very effective feed and it is a lot more reliable, but there is a small monthly charge that they make for the feed. So it's just worth knowing that when you go to set up bank feeds, the way you do it is all different for every bank because it depends on your login and how you normally log into your bank. So the bank feed is purely pulling information from your bank. It's not doing anything. You can't do anything in Xero that then is going to affect your bank account or make any payments out of your account. It's purely information that's flowing through into Xero. So the other side of it is the account transactions. So if in your Xero you have processed that you have spent, in this case, £600 on SPK cleaning services, then this is where they will show. They will show in the account transactions. These are things that you've already transacted. Where they come together is in the reconciliation screen. So if you're working on your bookkeeping using this cash books version, you are going to do most of your work from this screen. Okay? Because what this screen is showing you, all on the left-hand side is all your bank statement lines. And then on the right-hand side, if there are things that you have already transacted, they will come up and they will highlight and suggest that they are the ones, and you will simply click on OK to reconcile. If you haven't created them yet, then you simply do that in here. So I'm just going to give you an example. So there's a few lines on here. And if we take this example, so £7.50 has been spent in a coffee shop by Coffee Corner. So If you have scanned that receipt in, so you were at Coffee Corner and you scanned that receipt in, then that receipt is already in your system. Okay, so you don't need to enter anything, because on the right hand side here, this would have come up, this would have been populated, and you would simply click OK to say that it reconciles. Okay, if you haven't done that and you've got that receipt in front of you right now, and you've put them in date order, you're ready to do your bookkeeping, all you would do is in here you would type who, which is Coffee Corner. You would select your nominal code that you would use. So it might be, you might have a food or subsistence, or it might be travel, however you would categorise it. And I'm going to call this one refreshment. Okay. If you're not VAT registered, then this version wouldn't even suggest that you might be, so you wouldn't need to change that. That would just say no VAT. And all you would then do is click OK. Okay, so there's nothing more you need to do. So again, this one here, what this is showing is that it's seen those sorts of transactions before. And what's great about Xero is that it learns from what you've done previously. So this here has already learnt that it's seen a £20 going towards a daily standard in previous months, and it thinks that this is what you want it to be. Okay, now if you don't agree, that's fine, you can just change it. But if that is the case, all you've got to do is click OK. So you can see there's a lot of automation here. There's a lot that you will just simply be working through this screen, checking and clicking. Now the thing to just remember, because it's very easy, it's very exciting and satisfying when you're kind of working through it, is that you should still have your receipt or your invoice against each of these transactions. So that is a really important element, and obviously for the HMRC to see that you're putting through legitimate business expenses, you do need to be keeping copies of your receipts and your invoices. But in this screen, you could simply have a pile of them in front of you as you're in date order, and work through and find them on the statement, transact them to make sure you've got everything. Or, as I said earlier, if you are actually using the Xero app and scanning those documents as you receive them, then they will already be in the system. And what will happen then is that they will be coming up on the right hand side, already populated, and all you actually have to do is click OK. One of the other things you can do is set up bank rules in here. So if, for example, you're paying a monthly payment to an insurance company every month, and you don't normally have an invoice or a receipt from an insurance company every month, or if it's bank interest or bank charges, which are always going to be the same, you can simply set up a bank rule in here so that these will automatically populate, and all you've got to do is click OK. So it makes your monthly processing very, very simple and easy to do. So that's one of the great features. I want to show you the reports as well, because obviously when you've done your monthly bookkeeping process, made sure it all checks and balances, make sure that you've got everything in it, what you want to be doing is running your reports so that you can see exactly how your business is doing, and using that to make informed decisions about how you do things going forward. So I'm just going to show you some reports quickly. So on reports, you've got a menu which come up. So these are the ones which I've chosen to be my favourites because I use them all the time. So I can just find the ones that I want. But if I want to see the full range, I click into all reports, and you can see there's a huge range of different reports that you can run in your software. So I'm just going to run a profit and loss report just to show you. So the profit and loss report is where you're looking at your income. So here you might have different types of sales split out for different types of income streams that you have in your business. So these could all be split out. Your operating expenses, again, these may not be the headings that you would have. Some of them would be, but you may have additional ones which specifically relate to your business, which can be set up. Because obviously you want everything you put in to then come out in some kind of format that you can then look at. So you can run these month by month. So this is showing an example perhaps where your year starts in January, so you can see January, February, March, and April, and you can compare and you can see, okay, well, gosh, sales have been very variable, you know, does that information look right? Is there anything I need to know? Is there anything I need to do? I can look in here and I can look at this and I'm seeing, for example, there's 2 months of rent, but there's nothing in that for that month. So is there a reason for that? So I can easily spot if things are missing. I also can look at it and say, well, actually, my goodness, the salaries were so much higher than I expected. Why is that? And everything that's in blue in Xero, you can simply click on and you can see what the transactions are that sit behind it. So you can see there that Rachel Hudson has had 2 lots of wages in a month. So obviously that would then raise a question for you. Is that correct? Or maybe she was behind from a previous month, or actually has there been some kind of duplication there that needs to be taken out? So that's a very simple report that you can run each month. And as I say, there are many other reports in there as well. So a simple, straightforward, easy to use system, I would say. And as I say, I'm showing you the cash books version. The version that is the high level version has a couple of slight differences. The main difference is that you can do things like more accounting-y type stuff like journals, and you can do a lot of recoding, large amounts of recoding a lot quicker. So maybe some things that maybe wouldn't be so relevant for you. But if, for example, you wanted to use the system to send out invoices to customers, then you would have the standard version of Xero, and that would allow you very easily to raise sales invoices, send them out to your customers, and also you can use it to send statement reminders, chasing payment, and follow through. So it's it looks very similar to this. It literally just has a few more column headings and features, but doesn't look any more complicated than this, to be honest, but it allows you to do that. Also, if you're doing full double entry bookkeeping, you can put invoices on, and then you can keep a track of who you have not paid. So it's just a more fuller bookkeeping system for more complex businesses, or if you wanted to use the quoting in the invoice function as well. So that's really the main differences. Okay. So I think that's given you a bit of a look around. I know one of the things, Anna, you wanted to me to cover was cash flow forecasting. Now, if you want to do cash flow forecasting in your business and project ahead and look at the peaks and troughs, then one of the things that you can do is use the information in here to do a cash flow projection. So there are reports in here. So there's a cash summary report, just to give you an example, which is just coming up now. So if I ran this cash flow report, perhaps I want to compare previous periods. So here I can see, so this is a slightly different take on the profit and loss. This is showing the money, the physical money coming in and out of the business over those months. So you can use that pattern to then predict going forward. So there's on all of the reports, they have an export function, and you can export all of the reports out either in a PDF format or in an Excel function. So if we were doing a cash flow forecast, this is where we would go first. We would go to this report and we would run this report, push it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then use that information to then project on the next period of time that we want to do a forecast for. So the reports will run on a cash basis or on an invoice basis if you're using the standard version of Xero. Okay, so one of the things I just wanted to touch on as well is just going back to the storage side of Xero and being able to be paperless. So I was talking earlier about using the apps to scan information in. You may not choose to do that, or you may choose to do that a different way. So if I just show you, I'm just going to go into one of the account transactions. I'm going into the bank, and I'm going to go into one of the transactions that's been done. Okay, so if I pick on, let's pick on this juice makers here. So what this is showing here in this particular example is that £310.95 has been spent on a monthly juice delivery, and that's all been coded, as you can see, and that's absolutely fine. Here there's a little button. So if you have already scanned your transaction in via the app, then you would click on here and you would be able to see a picture of it. If you haven't yet scanned it in and you wanted to, or you've had something that's come in as an email, you can then just save that on your computer and then add it in from the file library and upload it into here. So in terms of storage, you can store things in the transactions, as I've just talked about, or if there's more general information, you can keep that up here in the filing system. So a lot of people ask us whether, if you had a HMRC inspection, whether the HMRC would be happy with that. And the answer is yes. HMRC have said they want to be able to see your information in an organised filing system. So if you don't have physical copies, that's not an issue anymore. As long as you can show them these electronic copies, then you can rely on this storage. Human nature, you know, ourselves included, we've still got we've still got hard copies of things, or a second version as well. But you know, the information is in Xero, and you know, should be perfectly adequate for the HMRC if they came and did an inspection, because you would be able to show them in the system and show them exactly where the information is that you would want. Okay, so I'm going to pause there, I think, and I'm going to pause and let you ask some questions. The chat box is open, so if you want to put any questions onto the chat box for me, and I will see how I can help. Okay. Okay, so there's questions on there, even a bit of dialogue obviously it's been going on while I've been talking about the bank's extra fees if you have a feed. From our experience at the moment, the Lloyds feed works absolutely fine, and we don't have customers that are paying an extra fee for that. The only ones that I have seen in use that have a direct feed where there's a cost, one is Metrobank and one is Barclays. So if you don't have the feed operating, again, that's fine. You've got two options really. If you've got online banking, then you can simply export your bank statement for that month. You can export that out in an Excel format, and then you could import that into the system. So if I just show you quickly where that is, so accounts and bank accounts. Doing it. So if we just click on here, you can see, oh, it's not on the demo. That's funny. Right, in the real version, there's an import button here. And what it does, it takes you through and it gives you a copy of a template. So basically, if you are, say you're using Barclays and you export your months of bank statement out into an Excel spreadsheet, you then simply cut and paste that into the format that Xero require and you import that in. So you can certainly do that. The other option is that you don't import the bank at all and you work from a physical bank statement, and each time you do your transactions, in the system, you mark them manually as reconciled. The only thing I would say is that you don't get the time benefits of having the bank in the system. If you're doing it that way, it will take you longer because you won't be able to set up bank rules, and the system isn't going to learn from previous experience because you haven't got that bank statement in there. So you do have those other options if the bank feed can't work, or you don't want to pay for that. But I think our experience has been sometimes it can be a bit fiddly setting up the bank feed, but once it's up, it's great, and it will make your life so much easier, definitely.
I'm just going to ask the question, Lynn, actually, rather than typing. What would you, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
If you are currently working on a sort of spreadsheet basis with your bookkeeping, your accounts, and you switch to this, what's the, as a real sort of estimate, what would you say it saves you in time on a, say, a monthly basis?
It depends on what the volume is that you're actually transacting, really. I think if you're using this system to its full potential with the bank feed, and if you're scanning documents into the system as things happen and as you receive invoices and you receive receipts, I would say it will probably at least half your time. That would be my estimation. But everybody's different. Some people pick these things up really quickly, some people less so. And obviously, whenever you start anything new, it always takes a bit longer. But I think one of the great advantages of doing it on a system like this rather than a spreadsheet is that you've got a robust, proper system. If the HMRC came to look, you've got, you can show that you're running a serious business, that it's all been set up correctly, and you've got good bookkeeping practices in place. If the government goes down the route of, with Making Tax Digital, of extending it beyond those that are at the VAT threshold, then they'll be expecting people to be doing their bookkeeping on a software rather than a spreadsheet anyway. So I think, from our experience, you end up with a much tighter bookkeeping process. You can get good information out of it, and you've got something there then that, as your business changes or evolves or grows, this comes along with you. And if you wanted to upgrade it or change how you're doing things in Xero, or bring in new income streams to the franchise, it'll be very easy just to adapt things in all of these Xero accounts so that they're consistent and really well run. That would be my perspective.
With everything going digital, is there a point at which spreadsheets won't be allowed and everything has to be digital, or will there still be an allowance for sort of much smaller businesses?
Well, what they've said at the moment, it's a bit, as always with these things, it's always a little bit unclear until the last minute. So what they've definitely said, from April 19, those businesses that are at the VAT threshold will have to be using a Making Tax Digital compliance software to submit quarterly returns rather than doing one annual return. So they've definitely said that. There's then expected to be a further rollout to other businesses, but if you go back a couple of years, they were talking about straight away it being all businesses, and there was obviously a lot of fuss around that. So whether they will follow through with that and how far they will go in terms of making all businesses use a software rather than a spreadsheet, I don't know. But what we have been told so far is that there has to be a Making Tax Digital compliance software, and it can't be a spreadsheet. That's what we've been told at this stage. And that's why a lot of the software providers are working behind the scenes to make sure that their softwares will be, and they'll be ready for it.